Huh. Looks like I just lost my turn. So before we talk about how we play the gold-silver ratio, let's take a historical look at it. And looking back over the last 8.5 years, back to late 2011, we can see that the ratio has had a steady growth, few corrections thrown in there, and looking there at the end, we can see that huge jump. Notice this was done on March 16th of this year, up to 105. At the time I'm recording this, it's at about 120, just hit over 120 by the time I publish this video. Who knows where it'll be. But let's look at the end of that where it crosses off the end of the time axis, and we see that regression line hits almost perfectly at the 90 mark. So I would argue from this that the proper gold to silver ratio before all of this cerveza sickness, the Captain Trips that we're going through right now, should be right at 90. So here I put together a little spreadsheet to kind of look at how the playing the gold-silver ratio would work. So right now, this is fairly accurate on the day I recorded it. We're looking at a ratio of about 120, which means the 120 ounces of silver will cost about the same as 1 ounce of gold. So the basic way to look at playing the ratio is, well, I'm going to take my $1,500 today. Now, of course, this ignores the complete fact that premiums are at an all-time high and you can't actually buy silver because everybody's sold out. But just, let's look at the theory here behind it. So I spend my $1,500. I'm going to spend it all on silver. So I'm going to buy 120 ounces of silver. And so later, when the ratio changes, when it goes down to, let's say, that natural 90 level that we were looking at earlier, I'm going to go ahead and pick up some gold. So let's change that ratio to 90. And let's say it gets there because silver goes up to $16, let's say. And gold falls a little bit to $14.40. So there we go. So now I'm going to trade in my 90 ounces of silver for $14.40 and pick up gold for that same price, $14.40. So just a straight swap. And look, I'm actually ahead by 30 ounces of silver. Basically, I've gotten 30 extra ounces of silver for that. Now, that's a great idea, but I think it doesn't take into account something very, very important. Let's go ahead and look at the full spreadsheet. Here we have premiums involved. Let's go ahead and do a quick little zoom to selection there. There we go. So we're not taking into account premiums. So the premium I have for silver is $250. Now I know there's a lot going on here. The math is not as easy as this. Different premiums involved. This basically is the difference between what you pay for it and what you get for it. So if you pay 50 cents over spot for your rounds and get spot minus 50 for your rounds, this would be $1. But let's look at $250. That's about the price for American Silver Eagles, which I know a lot of people stack. We also have sales tax involved. Now, I'm lucky enough to live in a bullion-free state. Thank goodness there's 31 of us out there. So I would pay no tax on mine. And thankfully, the bullion sales staff also knows about that. So I don't pay tax when I buy from online. But let's take a look. So when you bought the $120, well, now we only need to take into account the 70. We still have that. Would not take into account the premium until you sell it. Doing the whole price you get for it minus the cost is your profit, all that. But let's look at this 90 ounces of silver I'm trading in for that 1 ounce of gold. the 90 ounces of silver cost me $225 in premiums. Now, the gold, let's say that a 1 ounce American Gold Eagle at the time I buy it has a $50 premium. So there we go. So I'm going to pay the $50. So how much did that 90 ounces of silver really cost me? Well, it was not $1,440. It was actually $1,665. Now, I spent that $1,665 to buy, with premium, $1,490 worth of gold, which makes a difference. In other words, I paid extra $175 in premiums. Well, then what does that mean? Well, silver is $16 an ounce, which means that $175 is really the equivalent of 10.94, so right around 11 ounces of silver that I could get right now. And so adding the 90 ratio to the extra 10.9, so let's call it 11, round up. So adding the 11 ounces, really in terms of real money that I paid for what I got, the ratio was really over 100 to 1. So I'm not trading in at this ratio. I'm trading in at that ratio. So that definitely is something to consider when you're playing the game. The premiums, what effect will they have? You're going to pay a lot more to buy 80, 90, 100 ounces of silver in the premiums than you are the premium for gold. So again, this is just a rough theory on the mathematics involved. And again, things change. You buy at different spot prices, you pay different premiums. What if the ratio is 80? Well, you can see our overage, I'll call it, went down a little bit. Let's keep it at 90. What if it's at 90 and silver's at 15 and gold is at 1350? Well, now that 175, that did not change, but now that's worth 11 2/3 ounces, which means I'm trading it in at a ratio of over 101 to 1. So that's something to consider if you're thinking of, I'm going to build up stacks of silver. I'm going to fill a couple of tubes, take them down to my local coin dealer, and say, hey, I'd like to trade in these tubes for an American Gold Eagle or a Gold Britannia or Gold Maple Leaf or what have you. Because of the premiums and possibly the taxes, you are not going to get the true ratio trade-in value that the spot price would indicate. Now, I'm not giving financial advice here. I'm just giving my reasons for why I'm not playing the gold-silver ratio as stacking one metal, then when the ratio drastically changes, flipping to the other one. I think the premiums have to be taken into account, and premiums are just so high that it's not negligible. So as this video is running a little bit long, I'm going to talk about in my next video how I would play the silver-gold ratio. So until then, Drake Savory, signing off.